Hello world, welcome to Inflicting Opinions, where we talk about video game-y things and whatever the hell I feel like spewing my big dumb opinion about. So I haven't done one of these in a while just because the video game industry has been pretty disappointing lately and nothing they do is really all that interesting. And not just, the people that make games part of the industry, I'm also talking about the media side of the industry and the pundits, unfortunately. And what I realized is that the gaming industry is in reality TV hell. What do I mean by that? In the early 2000s, there were a few shows that became wildly popular, and then everyone jumped on that bandwagon like crazy. I mean, you had stations that were almost exclusively, or sometimes even completely exclusively devoted to reality TV programming. And I realized that before then there wasn't much reality TV, so it was most likely an underserved audience, but cable TV went nuts with the whole reality TV thing, and you could definitely see parallels to that in the gaming industry. And of course now, cable TV has been in decline for probably a while now, especially when you had the rise of Netflix and Hulu, which were in 2007 and 2009, I believe, and now we have 1,000 streaming services, but they also have something other than reality TV. You have a lot of variety and content. Of course, we've seen the rise of the good superhero media, not just superhero media, good, that's kind of the important part, or even fantastic, but you have, fantasy, you have sci-fi, you have all kinds of stuff, cop shows, pretty much anything you are interested in, there's probably at least a few high-quality programs for that. The video game industry is sadly not even moving in that direction. In terms of the media being stuck in reality TV hell, for classic journalists, some of the things that drove me away in the first place is the very obvious agenda pushing you see journalists doing. You have this us versus them, where gamers are always the bad guys, and you could see that anytime you have the gaming community get upset about something, even if it's nothing, like the way they're expressing their disappointment isn't anything bad or really horrific, they basically get put down and called by trolls in the media. And of course, this is just because it's a saucy headline. It gets in the clicks and the views, and that's all that really matters. I know that I get really annoyed when I click on something that looks interesting and there's maybe a couple of anemic paragraphs that didn't tell me anything that the title didn't already explain. And then, of course, you have the lack of facts. I have noticed in some things that happen, there are fact-light, things that should be in the article because, it's their job to report on things. It's just not there because it's, one-sided. And agenda pushing, and I really hate that. It's just annoying. I mean, look at the Diablo Immortal announcement. People booed, but no one was going up there and beating that guy or any of the people on stage. No one threw anything, and they made some, off-color comments. Nothing even really that bad. Is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke? And that wasn't that bad, really. And the articles basically demonize gamers for being disappointed. And it's like, and they were called entitled. I'm like, I don't know how you can call someone entitled when they've spent hundreds of dollars to go to BlizzCon. I mean, it's not cheap to go there. The tickets are like $200 or $300 plus airfare, hotels for hardcore gamers. I mean, these are people that are spending money on products. These aren't just, I want this for free people. They're, paying customers, and to treat them so poorly, it's for views. It really is just that simple. It's just for the views. And unfortunately, I see this happening in the YouTube space as well. Overly dramatizing and sensationalizing things that really are not that interesting. Anything Bethesda's doing at this point, it's disappointing, but not that interesting. Maybe it's worth, a short blurb, a couple sentences or a couple paragraphs. Even Fallout First, the subscription model, it's not that exciting. It's not that interesting. It's mostly just disappointing. I mean, Bethesda doesn't really do that much anymore. Their Creation Club content, one, none of it is made by Bethesda anymore as far as I know. And two, it's almost always fairly anemic. And part of that is just because the file format they use, I believe, does not allow for you to add much. I mean, they're convenient if you want just like some small files, but, I don't think they can really support any kind of meaningful, meaty content, which is what people would want. So essentially, anything in the Creation Club is by default going to be disappointing. In terms of those companies that actually make games, looking at the mobile space, it's kind of obvious that it's generally regarded as a cesspool by gamers. There is a lot of the same old garbage in there, free-to-play, cash shop. There's quite a few games that basically play themselves. I'm not sure what the appeal in that is. But, I mean, there doesn't really seem to be anything changing with the mobile spaces. Maybe things like the subscription services, because I know Apple has one. It's still relatively new, but I expect that to do quite well. And maybe there will be a decline. It probably already has been a decline in, your general mobile offerings. The indie space seems to be kind of in a weird spot. You do have the bandwagoning. There was a time where there were a shitload of roguelikes and roguelites. I get it, that was an underserved space. There weren't a lot of games being made for a while. But there's generally more experimentation and a wider variety of things. And they don't really compete with the AAA space. You don't see the really high quality graphics. There are a lot of retro style because it's cheaper and doesn't require a shitload of money to make those. So, although you do see that somewhat from the mid-size space, I think they're in the best position to provide what the AAA industry is unwilling to. You had Greedfall came out, that was quite well received. The Outer Worlds, they're not anything revolutionary though, which is sad. But they're still good games, and that's okay. Although you do see a game like Subverse, which, porn game, obviously. If you haven't heard about it, that's what it is. And it seems to be an underserved community, but that kind of was popular, at least for a while. Their Kickstarter absolutely blew up. Of course, Cyberpunk 2077 is going to come out. I have no doubts that'll be fantastic. I don't know if it'll be anything revolutionary, but maybe we just need some good games at this point. The AAA space, though, that's a huge offender of basically reality TV hell. And you saw it with MMOs, EverQuest 2, and especially World of Warcraft. That shit blew up, and then everybody was making MMOs. So many MMOs. And then it declined. And right now, MMO is almost a dirty word because it's just so poorly received. It's been largely replaced with the live service model, which I'm not sure if that's in decline yet. I know people are sick and tired of live services. It's kind of a dirty word at this point. But again, it's the same thing. You had a couple of live service games that were really popular, and then they just blew up and they were everywhere. And I think they still are everywhere. But I think at this point in time, people just complain about them a lot. They're sick and tired of the annoying monetization and the shitty, unregulated gambling aspects. The Assassin's Creed, just to pick on a series in particular, they're kind of going in the way of basically setting themselves up for the end. I mean, they're good games. But I know the last one, people were upset because they felt like they had to buy XP boosts just so the game wouldn't feel so damn grindy. Battle Royale games, you had a couple really popular ones. PUBG blew up, and then you had Fortnite, which really, really blew up. But oddly enough, it seems like Battle Royales have declined very, very quickly. I mean, a ton of people were making them at one point in time, but right now, I don't think there's a ton of Battle Royale action happening right now. Which is weird that it declined so fast, but it is barely a game. There's only so much you can do with it, unlike, your typical, first-person or even multiplayer games. There's generally a lot more content in those games, and when you add more content, I mean, if you have just like a map or two for a Battle Royale game, there's only so much you can do with that before people get sick and tired of the same shit with maybe a few new skins. I mean, there's always going to be a place for Battle Royales. It's just kind of weird how it blew up and then declined so quickly. So it seems like the video game industry is just constantly reinventing reality TV hell for themselves, which is bizarre. They didn't learn anything from their cable TV counterparts, which is weird because the video game industry generally was part of the entertainment industry for a long time. They're kind of in a weird spot right now. That's probably an entire new video about where the video game industry is anymore and what it wants to be when it grows up because it hasn't figured it out. But I'm actually looking forward to the rise of the subscription services. I know some people are, just the thought of having like 50 different subscription services is really annoying, and that's been something that's annoyed people in the TV space, but it's actually brought a lot of really fantastic quality content to the TV watching space, which hopefully it will do the same for the video game space. And I don't expect it to happen. It'll probably take years for that to happen. And I think it took a while before the TV streaming services really, really picked up. It's something that'll take years. And I know Stadia just launched and it was janky because, of course, it's janky. It's the tech industry. They just launch shit that's janky. I mean, it's always been like that as far as I know. I don't know why this is surprising. So yeah, the video game industries are probably going to be in reality TV hell for a couple more years, which is sad, until Stadia gets its shit together, and then you see Microsoft launch whatever their stuff is, and I don't know what Amazon's doing. They just seem to be really slow about everything. They have their space program thing for the satellite-based internet. I don't think they launched a single thing into space yet. Whenever they get around to it, I don't know how their streaming service is even coming along. I thought they were supposed to be making an MMO. I think that hasn't really panned out for them, or some sort of live service shit. I don't know. Amazon is just kind of like really being slow, but... So I guess we just have to put up with reality TV hell for games. I guess we can call it game reality hell.